What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be part 2 in my series of the LORAC Unzipped palette reviews. These are all of the new California inspired palettes, and in particular we're going to be reviewing the one called Desert Sunset. As you may know, LORAC released a few unzipped palettes. I have the Ocean Sunset palette, which I did review in the first video. I'm going to link that somewhere up here for you to click on if you're interested in watching it. I really did enjoy this palette. They also came out with the Mountain Sunset palette. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get my hands on that because it was sold out on Ulta's website. LORAC also released these mini city palettes. I've got one for Venice Beach and one for downtown LA, but these here are going to be separate reviews. So today's focus is going to be the Desert Sunset palette. It came in this big huge box. Hopefully you guys can see how gigantic this box is in actual comparison to the palette. But inside of this also came a LORAC eyeshadow primer. This is the behind the scenes eye primer. I absolutely adore it. I love using it on my lids when I am using any of the LORAC shadows. Hell, when I'm using any eyeshadow. I think this is one of the most budge-proof eyeshadow primers that are out on the market, especially if you have really oily eyelids. This palette, when you do crack it open, it does have the same folds that the Ocean Sunset palette had. I'm still not sure what the functionality of that is, but we're gonna roll with it, and instead we're gonna focus on what's inside. These colors here are so beautiful and complementary with one another. I absolutely love them. In this palette you are gonna get 3 matte shades and 7 shimmer eyeshadows, so it definitely does lean on the shimmer side, but I think with the mattes that are in here you can use them to create some beautiful looks. I am wearing this eyeshadow palette on my eyes today. I went ahead and used, what is this, Sirius? I think that's how you pronounce that, in the inner corners of my eyes, and I used that to highlight my brow bone. I used Dunes down here in my crease as my transition color, and I've really blown that out. And I also used Sandstorm in my crease as well because I wanted a really nice, bright yet dark smoky eye. And then for all over my lid, I use this deep brown shimmer down here called Shadow. I normally do a lot more sort of champagne tones and really bright tones in the middle of the eye to really brighten things up. I don't normally do a dark color all over my lids, but not gonna lie, I'm sort of feeling myself today. Woo! As with most of the LORAC eyeshadows, these colors here blended out beautifully. They had lots of pigment to them, and I really enjoyed working with them. Let's start off by breaking down the mattes in this eyeshadow palette. We're gonna go down here to the color Dunes. Dunes is a beautiful sort of orange tone transition color. It is absolutely beautiful. I'd say orange tone, even terracotta, a very light terracotta. It just looks so nice in the crease, and it's complementary with a lot of the colors that you see in here. It is incredibly pigmented, you don't need a lot, and there's not too much kick up in this matte shadow. Next we're going to dive into Sandstorm, which is probably more of a true terracotta color. Terracotta leaning towards brown rather than orange, but you can see it right there. It is another stunningly pigmented color, very easy to use. This is something that you can put in your crease to deepen it up. If you want to put it on your lower lash line to smoke things out, you can do that too. I actually used that to smoke out my lower lash line after I put Joshua Tree, the deep matte brown, which why don't I just swatch that for you too, right there, underneath my lower lash line, and I just smoked everything out and it turned out beautiful. I have never loved my lower lash line as much as I do today. Let's move on to our shimmer shades. I'm going to start off with Mirage, which is right over here. Mirage is a beautiful champagne pink color that will look fantastic in the center of your eye. You can put this all over your eyelid as well and smoke out your outer corner of your eye with Joshua Tree here if you want to do something a little more glamorous. But this is just, it's a beautiful, beautiful color, very soft, creamy, blendable. So Sirius is next, and Sirius is more of a pearl toned pink color. I would say this is a little more on the powdery side. It's not as creamy as what Mirage was, but it still has beautiful color payoff. Like I said, I did use this to highlight underneath my brow bone as well as the inner corners of my eyes, and it did a really great job of making everything pop nicely. Next, we're going to go to this purple color here called Meditation. Meditation is nice and creamy. I'd say it is pigmented, but probably not as much as what it could be, although you can build this color up really, really nicely. It's a very nice sort of bright, not neon purple, but more of an orchid purple color. It would be stunning all over the lid. Next, we're gonna look at this red tone color here called Sunrise, and this actually reminds me of the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette, one of the colors in there, but it's more of a red ochre color. It is absolutely beautiful. This color would look great as a pop of color on your eyelids, or if you really just wanted to do something a little bit funkier with it, maybe smoke out the lower lash line with it, or maybe do a halo eye with this color and maybe pop this nice sort of bronze color in the middle, make it really look like a sunset. I think that would be stunning. I did notice with Sunrise that the more I went in and blended it out, the more it would fade. So I feel like it didn't really have a lot of really great staying power, but I would have to pack on a little more color in order to make it pop again. And it was no problem to build up at all, but that's just something to keep in mind when you are working with that color. Next, we're gonna go into Shadow, and this is the color that I have all over my lids today. Shadow is a nice brown shimmer. It's not as dark as what you think it actually is, but it builds up nicely. So there's Shadow right there. I thought it was gonna be a lot more pigmented, but it wasn't as much as I thought it would be. So it did go on a little bit lighter on the eyes, which for me is actually a great thing, because I find I always have a hard time when I am putting on dark colors on my eyes. I normally go in too dark too quickly. So this was a great color for me to really gradually build up and get it to the darkness that I actually wanted. It is packed into the pan a little bit harder, so it doesn't have that sort of creamy and buttery consistency like some of the other shimmers do, but it's still a great color to work with. The next color we're gonna look at is Illusion, and Illusion is a beautiful bronze kind of gold color. I think this is my favorite in the palette, can't even lie. You know I am completely over the moon for colors like these. It is very buttery in the pan, it's easy to blend out, and it has lots of pigment to it. And the next color we're gonna look at is Sunset right here, and I did swatch Sunset right next to Sunrise because I wanted to show you how different these two colors were, even though they look a little bit similar in the pan. So as you can see, Sunrise has a little bit of a more orange sort of red tone to it, whereas Sunset has a deeper red sort of purple undertone to it. Both are beautiful colors and both look great on the lid. I did find that Sunset was easier to use than Sunrise. It had a lot more staying power, but it's probably because it is a bit of a deeper tone. It's also hella buttery in the pan, so I loved working with this one. When I initially cracked open this palette and I saw these red tone colors here, I was a little bit worried because on me, shades like that tend to make me look like The Walking Dead, but they actually turned out to be a lot nicer than what I had anticipated. Overall, I would recommend this palette. I think there are so many fun colors in here that you can play with, different looks that you can create. These shadows are very user-friendly, so I'd say go for it. Pick it up if you see it. And that's it for this review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. You can also connect with me on all of my social media. I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, and I'm going to link everything for you in the description box below. Don't forget to stay tuned for part 3 of this LORAC Unzipped California inspired palette review, in which I am going to be reviewing the Venice Beach palette. I hope you are all having an amazing day no matter where you are in the world. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!